little hi. Hi.
Hi.
We are live, and this time we set up everything correctly.
Let's make sure it's running.
Okay, hold on.
Oh yeah, we're correct.
All right.
We're getting better at this. This is like what, our fifth one, sixth one?
I know. I can't believe we live in San Francisco and can never figure out Facebook Live.
It's okay. It's not just us.
Like, which way does the camera go? And then when do we put up the announcement? Anyway, this is our year. It's our year in review. We are, this is our second to last week of 2018. Seventh season of DATEABLE, which is still really hard to believe sometimes. 7 is a big number.
It honestly feels like yesterday when we started this, but if you didn't hear our catch-up already today that we just put out for our catch-up with past guests, we actually caught up with Michael Vargas.
Yes, remember him?
Probably remember. He was our past co-host. And he said he hasn't lived here for 3 years.
Which is crazy because I've only been here for 3 years. So that means I met Michael right when I was moving in and he was moving out. But
it was meant to be.
It was so meant to be. You guys should listen to that episode if you haven't yet. We caught up with Michael Vargas. We caught up with Farah from Breadcrumbing, Chris from the Uber story. And Shelby from the 2 blind dates. She went on 2 dates, remember, with Matt and Bo. She really hit it off with one, and we weren't sure if they were going to see each other again. So you guys have to, I won't give it away, but you need to listen to that episode. She has some crazy developments since that happened. Totally. And if anybody wants to know if we reached out to Matt or Bo, you guys can just privately message us. I have a little secret to tell you all, but I won't tell you guys here. But it's been an amazing year again. Julie and I are like getting ourselves out there more. I feel like last year we didn't go out as much together, but this year together we've been going out a lot more. It's been cool meeting some of you who have been listening since the beginning or just started listening and meeting you guys. It's like the best thing in the world. So.
I know. We had such a great experience at the crab feed the other week.
Yes. It was awesome. We were walking, and this lovely girl, Laura, came up to us and said, "Are you girls from DATEABLE?" And we're like, "Yes."
It made our night.
It really made our night. Yeah. And she brought her boyfriend over.
Yep.
It was
Which
really cool.
I think the part that really made our night is how she would tell us that she would just like sit in the park and listen to DATEABLE when she was like feeling so like dating, like what is gonna ever happen, and now she's like with this amazing guy. You can tell that they're so into each other and
so into each other.
It was really great to see that, and it's really touching that we like helped her. So,
yeah.
And you don't know who's listening.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's so awesome meeting you guys if you are in San Francisco. But what's so neat to me is because I feel like now whoever we meet who knows about DATEABLE, their first question is always like, what keeps you guys going? Because obviously we're not like getting rich from this. We have not quit our day jobs or side jobs or whatever to do this, but people have asked like, what is it that keeps you guys going from season to season? And Julie and I talked about this the other day. It's not about just the content, but it's like constant learning. Yeah. And it's like learning with each other, which is so neat because I think we've both changed our perspectives about dating, and it's so great to hear that you guys have changed your perspectives.
And I think obviously it's always great to see that someone's in like a happy, healthy relationship, but I think the part that I actually like even like more than that is like when they're more secure with themselves and like just feeling like the shift that Farah had in our catch-up. I'm not going to give it all away.
Don't give it away. You have to listen to the episode.
It was such a change of mindset, and I think like that type of thing, and like the fact that we're opening each other up, and we're learning from guests too. It's not just us preaching to guests. It's totally the other way around, and listeners also. I think that part has been like super amazing.
And also, in theory, everything's a lot easier than application. So we are also dealing with like applying our own takeaways and our own learnings.
So much easier to give advice.
So much easier to just dole out advice and be like, what do we take away from this? Oh yeah, we did this. And if I were you, I would do this. But when you're actually in a situation, it's harder to separate the rational and the emotional. Totally. And I think I feel like DATEABLE is like a form of therapy for me, because then I can talk out loud some of the issues that are going on in my own mind. So I'm not a crazy person thinking about it by myself.
So of everything we've learned, because we've learned so much, what would you think has changed the way you think of dating the most, or that you've applied to your own relationships?
So I think about this all the time, right? Every time we have a guest on, I feel like it untangles and makes me unlearn my own behaviors that I've had for a long time. I mean, I'm like approaching my late 30s. I've been in numerous relationships, and this is the first year where I'm like, oh shit, I didn't learn these lessons until now, because I'm putting like language around it now, as opposed to just like random thoughts. So I think the biggest takeaway for me this year is what we learned in Marriage 101, the very last episode, was knee-jerk reactions. Why do we have these reactions to the way people, treat us, or the way they talk about us? Why do I feel this way, and why do I react this way? Well, it may have nothing to do with this person, but it could be like years of behavior or entrenched, behavior or thoughts that are feeding into the way I feel today. And, as someone said it really right, it's like their actions are actually separate from your own emotions. Totally. So your emotions are processed by your own thought in your own mind. So how do you change your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for anyone that hasn't caught that episode, it is like
so
a must.
Good.
We actually were going to put it into the next season, but we were like, we can't wait, and we can't let people not hear this sooner. So good. We actually changed it, and we made it our finale. Our second to last episode is also amazing. Single and Loving It to Marriage 101 is totally polar, but they're great different feelings, and it's just, again, like where you are right now, and just, again, making it like, how does this help you, right? But I think the Marriage 101 one, like, I think this concept that like conflict in relationships is inevitable.
Yes.
And the easiest way out is to be like, oh, I could just go back into the dating pool if someone isn't meeting my every need or mind reading what I want. And actually, like, the reality is no one's going to do that. So, like, you have to work and you have to express conflict. And just because there's conflict or disagreement about the way things are doesn't mean the relationship's doomed. And I think in the past, for me, like, I've been like, oh, like, this person doesn't know exactly every single thought in my mind.
Yeah, how are they not a mind reader?
And I think a lot of people do that. And I think that was, like, really good to hear and just, like, have your mind shift a bit on that.
Absolutely. I think some of our takeaways when we do like the action items of the week, we always say, get to know yourself, develop some self-awareness, think about like some of the thoughts that you have and write them down, why you feel that way. But I think what's more important this season for me is learning that you may develop self-awareness, but it's actually what you do with that self-awareness that's really important. So one example is like, hey, I know I'm not this affectionate type of person. So that's self-awareness, right? But two is, what am I going to do about it? If my partner really enjoys affection and that's a love language of his, then it's not so much like, oh, that's not who I am, so he should deal with it. It's more like, at least I know I'm not naturally this sort of affectionate person, but for my partner, how am I able to change in order to meet his needs? So self-awareness is step one, but what you do with it is actually the more important step. And then also,
like, how can you meet in the middle that it's meeting his needs, but it's also not like fake and forced in like a way that doesn't feel natural.
Sacrificing yourself either, but it's a compromise. Yeah, I think
the other things that I've personally taken away from this is like, I just find like the changing society so interesting with gender roles. And I think like historically, like I've been definitely a person in the past, like in my early 20s when I first started dating, that was very much like, oh, I'm going to wait till the guy calls. I'm not going to ask him on a date. Yeah. And actually Amanda's episode that we did recently, that was definitely very popular. We did this also with Taylor about making the first moves. But I think the way Amanda said it, I was just like, what do you have to lose? Like, it really resonated with me. And to be honest, like after that episode, I feel like I got a lot more active on dating apps and like more proactive than I had been before. And I think like that shift is really important because it's like, what do you have to lose? Like, if you just wait passively, like nothing's gonna happen. And like this day and age, it's like, yeah, there might be some guys out there still that don't want the women to make moves, but like if that's not aligned with you, then like is that even the right person? So
if you don't do anything, there'll be no results. Nothing just falls into your lap. So if you find that someone attractive when you're out and about and you just want to say hi to them, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I think the other last thing I'll say, at least for my own shift, has been like, I think I've had this narrative in my head that like I'm not going to meet someone on a dating app. That like dating apps, like, because again, my early 20s, I used dating apps a lot, and I'd go on a lot of like first, second, third dates, but all like any significant relationship I've had has been through mutual friends. And like hearing about fatigue and like people just like being all over the board of what they're looking for, I've kind of like had this narrative like, I'm not going to meet anyone serious there. And I think like that has shifted. I actually met someone super wonderful on Hinge and like would never have expected that. So I think there is like staying open and like being open to possibilities and not closing off different outlets just because of like past experience or like a perception is really important.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Lucy just said, guys that aren't secure enough to like it when the woman makes the first move are not for me. Well, Lucy, first of all, you're engaged, so.
But I agree. I think there is a shift of society right now, and it's a lot telling about someone if they're not okay with that either.
Actually, no guy is ever going to say, I don't like it when a girl approaches me. I don't think any guy would ever say that, but I think some guys are intimidated when a girl does make the first move and they're kind of like, what do I do next, right?
But I do think a lot of that is shifting, which is the exciting part.
Yes, it's gender roles. Gender roles are so interesting. Let's go on to some dateable accomplishments. Yes, this is our report card.
I think the fact we actually kind of like were a little silent about this because we actually didn't realize when it happened, but we hit 100 episodes.
Insane. That's we didn't even have a party or anything.
This is our party. We need champagne.
We need champagne. we need lots of champagne, but we talked about this for a long time. Like when we hit 100 episodes, we're going to have a blowout party. And then we hit like 105 episodes and we're like, wait.
It's 2019. We'll do it.
Yeah, 2019, we're going to have a blowout party earlier in the year. So mark your calendars. Somewhere between January and March, we're going to have a party. But it's awesome.
More to come. Yes.
More to come, yes. And also, here's some, so should we talk about... Oh, yes. So in the beginning, we launched this podcast as dating in San Francisco. And then very quickly, we realized that there were a lot of similarities to the other cities as well. So this year, we have expanded to not just San Francisco, but we've had a lot of not only guests, but also listeners from LA, New York, Chicago, Dallas, and also across the world. We have people from Toronto, London, Oslo, and Sydney. So we actually had 2 Australians on.
We did.
This season.
I don't know. I was personally really excited, especially Toronto. Like the numbers were actually higher than a lot of U.S. cities, which I don't know. I love it. It's exciting.
I love it.
I don't know how they found us in Toronto, but not complaining. So
totally. It's so cool to see that it's not just our friends listening.
I think when we first started, it's hard when you're doing a podcast because you're like, is anyone out there?
Is anyone out there?
Am I just talking to myself? I mean, we basically just talk like we would talk normally.
Yeah.
With a mic on is really what is happening.
Our guests are here, huh?
Oh.
Our guests are here.
We have some surprise guests that are here already. Okay, you can keep going when I let them in.
Yeah, okay. But it's great because we've had a lot of feedback from people, not just in San Francisco, who are saying the exact same things. They have the same gripes about dating, but what I'm hearing more and more this year, and which is like, I don't know if it's just because of the circle we run in or just because of the content we're putting out, I don't hear as much dating fatigue as I did last year. I feel like people are not just getting off. Hi, Valerie from Miami. Oh, we need to add Miami to the list. Yes. I've heard dating in Florida is a whole other...
we can have Valerie on to tell us.
Yes. So... what was I saying? Yeah, so I feel like people are complaining less about dating because they're finding alternative ways of dating, not just going on the apps or not just going out. So people are getting a lot more creative this year, which I really enjoy. And one of the creative ways we found, I guess in New York, this is really big. People date from Instagram. They just slide into each other's DMs and then they meet up at a coffee shop and then they start dating.
Did you say there was a thing about like airdrop too?
Airdrop! Holy cow, has any of you, have you guys experienced airdrop dating? So I guess you go to a public place and then you airdrop.
We tried it, remember?
We did.
It didn't work in San Francisco.
Nobody has the airdrop
shocking,
on. But you just airdrop a picture or a message to whoever has their airdrop on and see who responds back to you.
I don't know. The other thing I think that was like actually one of my favorite moments of the year was when we were actually on the radio, which was
my gosh,
so fun. So want to shout out Stu, who actually referred us, which was amazing. But we were on the Ryan Scott show on KGO, which I don't know. I mean, I've never been on radio before. Have you?
A few times, but not like this, because Ryan was very high energy. It
was awesome, though. I feel like we were on for like 10 minutes. Yeah. But it felt like 30 because it was just like all over. It felt like 2 minutes. It didn't even feel like 10.
It was cool because Ryan, he doesn't agree to this statement, but apparently he was an ex-Marina bro turned family man. So it was cool.
Apparently
he's married with a kid, but apparently he went through a transformation. It was awesome meeting him and meeting someone who's been in San Francisco for so long.
Yeah.
We've also contributed to a few more articles. Getting media attention's always good. We were in a Bustle article called How to Have a Better One-Night Stand, 14 Most Awkward Things Ever Said in Wedding Speeches. That was in HuffPo. Yeah. 10 Misconceptions You Had About Sex as a Little Kid. That was also in HuffPo. We want to give a big shout out to Leah Rose Emery and Brittany Wong, who are awesome writers and journalists who've included us in their articles.
Totally.
So it's been a great media year for us. Sponsors. So how do we keep the Dateable going? We just need a little bit of money. And then so that's when the sponsors come in. We've had some badass sponsors this year, not just 500 Brunches anymore. Wow!
Don't give it away.
But we've had Audible, Songfinch, Zola, ModCloth, Care Green Chef, Chegg, and Lola. And you can check out all the sponsors on our website because they all give discounts and special offers to all of our listeners. We really enjoyed Songfinch, by the way. If you don't know what that is,
oh my god, check it out. Especially because of the holidays coming out. It is like the best gift, or like a wedding gift. It would be amazing.
I feel like it's a great gift if you haven't gotten someone something yet and you're just like the clock is ticking.
They need 7 days.
Okay, never mind. But I'm sure they can do a rush order. So you give their team of writers and songwriters a background of the person you want to gift it to. So it could be your relationship with them or like how you know them. And then they turn your story into a song, a professionally produced song. So we did this for our friends and also who were on the podcast, Kate and Boris. And it was so fun. Like the song they came out with.
God, it was amazing.
It was so good. It was so funny. It was really personalized and it was like professionally done. Like legit, you would listen to it on the radio. So definitely check them out.
So speaking of songs, our last shout out, and then we'll get into the good stuff, promise, is
good stuff.
Well, this is good stuff, but the real good stuff. Yeah. We had a rap written about us.
Oh my God.
Which was by Stephen Freund.
Yes.
And he wrote a dateable rap, which was amazing.
You guys have to listen to that too. I love it. I love that people are writing songs and like getting creative with it. We need to come up with a theme song. So every time our episodes play, there's just like a theme song. Dateable, stay dateable. Okay, here's some top episodes by numbers of listens in 2018. So these are the most popular episodes. Nothing to Lose with Amanda. We alluded to that earlier. She's the one that goes to bars and hits on guys, and she doesn't see there's anything wrong with that. So I went to a sex party. Well, I mean, that's just, I can't believe that's like not the most popular episode. Julie and I went to a sex party. That is true. We brought our friend. We went in. I don't know if we had sex or not. You have to listen to the episode, but that was our first sex party experience, and we were able to audio record that whole thing.
And we went through Natalie, who was the guest. It was like her first time experience, and then Organ House was the people that were running the party. So it was awesome to get like party goers kind of take on this that were more frequent opposed to Natalie's first time.
And since then, I have seen one of those sex party goers at a party. So, yeah, I don't know if he recognized me, but I surely recognized him. And then Just Say Yes with Cheryl. That was a really popular episode.
Loved that one.
So good. She talked about how changing her mindset led her to her husband. And they have a major update that's coming out next week. I won't give that away, but they have recent developments. And Fuck Tinder with David. So David has a one-man show called Fuck Tinder. It's about his experiences of dating online, and he's hilarious.
He's like a moth storyteller, so just a really amazing storyteller. So definitely check that out. But also, if you happen to be in a city where he's performing, it's totally worth it. We got to go, and it was awesome. I was like so impressed that he could talk that long and keep it entertaining the whole time.
Just him by himself, but he had really good stories to share. And definitely not PG.
No. Our next one was Meeting Your Half Orange with Amy Spencer, which is one of my personal favorite episodes. It was from her book that she wrote that's the same title. And she's all about dating optimism and like how basically making yourself happy will attract the right partner. And then Mental Health and Dating with
so
Jonathan,
important.
which actually, again, is another one that like is near and dear to me because I think personal experience plus all the guests we've talked to of how many people have had a personal journey. Like you don't know about this stuff because people don't actively talk about it. And like you just see someone with a partner and just assume it was super easy for them. And that's not usually how it is. Like a lot of people have to work on their own stuff and then like get to a place of being ready for a healthy relationship. So I think like Jonathan talked about like the anxiety and depression that also comes with dating. So it's just a really great episode in general. And he is a founder of a company called Reflect that like helps match you with therapists.
And in that episode, we talked about how mental health is really having a moment right now. I think we should all be paying attention to our mental health just as much as we do with our physical health. So a very important topic, and we would love to hear anybody else's experiences with it.
Yeah, and then our number one in terms of listens was actually...
This is number one?
Yes.
Oh.
A recent one, The Man Funnel. Love the name.
Wow.
So trademarks, The Man Funnel with dating coach Megan Wex. So she came on and told us about this method basically and how she kind of makes, it's almost like a sales conversion funnel, but with dating. So
lead gen for dating.
I mean, it was amazing.
You guys have to listen to the episode. I have my own opinions on how to do the man funnel because I'm just not good at dating multiple people that I like.
She had a lot of valid points.
She absolutely did. And one of them was like really observing your partner in the first like 90 days and not just listen to things that you want to hear, but also listen to the things that you may not want to hear.
And I think at the end of the day, like even though it sounds like a little gimmicky with a funnel, but I think the end of the day was like all about like really relaying what your needs are and like finding someone that is going to meet you. And if they're not, then being not afraid to move on to someone that will.
Absolutely.
So
not all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah. So that being said, what was your favorite episode of the last year? Or like, I know that's hard to say favorite, but like which one resonated with you?
Okay, so the episode I could listen to over and over again is Rock Bottom. Okay, so in this episode, Melissa, Julie, and I all share our rock bottom stories, which means these are those moments in our love lives where we thought, oh my goodness, I gotta change something about the way I date because this is not, I can't continue this way anymore. So you have to listen to it because Melissa's story is, our guests are here. Melissa's story is just so funny. I could listen to that episode and listen to her retell that story in person over and over again. It's just too ridiculous. But I don't know if like you guys have had these experiences where you, I don't know, get out of a date or a situation and thought, oh, love that one. Yeah, you're right, Lucy? I'm sure you've had a rock bottom story too. We all have rock bottom stories. It's just like one of those moments where you wake up and you're like, I didn't envision my life being like this, so I'm gonna have to change something about it. But my story involved giving someone a bloody nose after a drunken night. But Melissa's involved is something a little bit more graphic than that. It's too good. It's too funny. But that was my favorite. I think Julie has shared hers. We're getting our guests right now. But this is I love these episodes because we go from ridiculously funny and humiliating to ridiculously deep and thought-provoking. And I like having that balance. And one of the episodes that I think I really opened up my mind about everything was the diaper fetish one. I don't know if you guys have listened to that one. I think whenever I tell people about this episode, they're like, really? Diaper fetish? But if you listen to it, you're like, yeah, this is actually kind of like not that weird. So I think just like listening to other people's stories about not just how they date, but also their interests and what their preferences are and how they got there is really thought-provoking, because then you start questioning why you like why you like the people that you do, and how you can open up your mind even more. I'm ready. Okay. Wait, but you have to share your favorite episode.
I'm gonna share something quick and then I'll let you guys.
Don't worry, it's not Bottle Ned. In case you were scared.
Bottle Ned, we miss you. Anyways, what am I sharing? My favorite
episode?
Yeah, so I think one of the episodes, it's actually a two-part one. That I loved this season it was around Margot and Elisa. And our first episode, Margot was all about, why are men so frustrating?
Yeah.
I meet this guy, then he disappears, and all this stuff. Just really frustrated by men. Then had this revelation too about just like open communication and like putting out her needs and all this, right?
Mm-hmm. And maybe, and then she left the episode thinking, or she left that recording thinking, maybe I don't need a traditional relationship. Like maybe I can explore non-traditional. Yeah.
And I think actually in the first recording, she did have a guy that seemed promising.
Yeah.
But then we heard through mutual friends that things had changed significantly. And she had actually met an amazing woman, Elisa, and both of them, it was their first time dating women, and they just like instantly fell in love first sight. And I just love this episode because it was just like their connection was just so authentic.
Yeah.
It was just such a shift, because I think that's really exciting and scary about modern dating is things can change in like a heartbeat. Like so fast. I mean, like this was such a change in a very short period of time. So I think that part, and I think this whole concept of like from an early age we're told that you should date this person, and whether that's like gender or race or whatever may it be,
this type of person,
like is that coming from you or is it coming from your parents or who you were told? So like I think the fact that they challenged that and like really found someone that like made them super happy and like was the love that they were both looking for was like really heartwarming. So,
and speaking of,
I had to save that because those are our special guests.
Yay, Margot and Elisa!
Cheers to you guys.
Come on in. All right.
Yay.
They're here. Let's get you guys situated.
You guys sit here.
Oh, cool.
You got the little.
Can we give you hugs first?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, babe. So good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I think the last time I saw you guys was at your party.
Oh, yeah.
Gay for Bay.
Gay for Bay
It
party.
was like this celebration of love and everything.
Let's
It was
make sure
amazing.
everyone's in. Oh, hello, gorgeous.
There we go. Everyone's in.
Hello, gorgeous. Okay, so where do we leave off from their very last episode? You guys have been dating for like how many?
2 months, right?
Yeah,
2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty early on.
Yeah.
and then like fell in love instantly, an instant connection, and it was like just easy getting along with each other, meeting each other's families. But also we talked about like possibly coming out to your families and the hardship that came with that. So give us an update on what has happened since that episode.
Do you want to go first?
You go first.
Okay. And y'all have to forgive me. I'm getting over a cold, so I sound a little bit like Minnie Mouse right now.
Minnie Mouse is hot.
Nothing wrong with
Minnie Mouse.
Okay, so what's happened since the last episode? A lot has happened. We've both gotten really cool new jobs.
Ooh, both of you.
Yeah, I'm very bonded to her dog Baxter.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's important.
And I have reconciled things with my family. I just
Really?
made a choice. Yeah, I think, they're wonderful people, and I just made a choice to forgive, and I realized that there's a release in that, and to just like wholeheartedly just embrace. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I make any apologies for who I am or how I show up, but I think I'm just authentically me, and we just made a choice to be happy that the other person is happy.
That's great.
And so I'm excited to see them. We're both excited to see them at the end of the month in Tucson.
Is this your first time meeting them?
Yep.
Wow.
So, for New Year's Eve, we're going to Tucson. My brother lives there, so we're going to see my family loves her and us and everything.
Of course, yeah.
That was like from day one.
So we're going to Tucson to see my brother, and her parents coincidentally have like a snowbird.
They have a house
home
there.
over
They're
there.
supposed to leave
snow
Chicago and leave the frigid cold for like mountainous weather.
Yeah. So it's gonna be the first time that I meet them, and the first time that she's seen them in probably about a year.
And what's how are you splitting the holidays then?
Yeah, so we did Thanksgiving with her parents and with her brother and sister-in-law. And then we're gonna just go to Hawaii for Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
That's like the best way to split. You're like, we can't decide, let's just go.
We choose us for Christmas.
There you go. Well, I think like back to the parents, like I think the last time you said that it's a side that they just didn't understand, right? It was like, it wasn't coming from a place of like bad intention. It's just like, and I think it's something to remember, because I face this too, not even like in a different situation, right? But it's like parents are just from a different generation sometimes, and like things that you see that feel so normal in your life, it's not necessarily like, oh, they're bad and they're out to get you and they don't respect you, and it's like, it's just like understanding where you're both at and like trying to meet them.
And we're even outdated, like, compared to my sister's generation. Like they were like, whatever, like sexuality is fluid, this is cool. And for us, it's like a bigger deal. So I think that every generation kind of iterates in their own way.
Totally.
Well, I mean, I had this conversation with an old coworker of mine whose daughter is going through a sex change, and he said, I'm like all for my daughter choosing to be her most authentic self, but the way this society operates is that we promote people to pursue their individuality without thinking about the roadkill along the way. So he's like, I kind of feel like I'm roadkill in a way, because I feel like I have pressure from society to say, deal with it, like accept her for who she is, this is her. But he's like, but that's not naturally how I would deal with this. So there's like a lack of support system even for that side. So it kind of gave me a little bit more empathy towards, what other people are going through, because you're still going through, whatever you're feeling, it's still your own feelings, right? We have to validate them for how they're feeling. We can't just be like, change. It's not that easy. Just because also they can't expect you to just be like, change. It's not,
We all have a story. And so I think like just getting to the root of understanding, like, there's this beautiful coaching method that I always employ, which is like, just think about the just like me. So like, how is that person that you're objecting to or that's hurting you just like you? And seeing the alliance between both of us, and seeing people as human and understanding their perspective, even if it's flawed. And doing it objectively in a disengaged fashion. And so I have been able to do that. And I have wonderful parents, and I'm really grateful for them. And I'm choosing to, that's my story. Versus, not forgetting things, but just understanding like we will grow stronger through this. And I also will continue to live my life very authentically.
And I'm so excited to meet them. And I think honestly, like when they see us together, it's going to be a different thing.
And so what's
Who can resist Margot here?
And Minnie Mouse over there. So we teased this already. We said you guys have a major announcement. So what is it? What's this announcement that's happening?
You to tell them.
Well, true to keeping with stereotypes, we moved in together this month. So yeah, we're U-hauling, baby.
Oh my god, so at your party, it was the first time I ever heard this U-haul.
Okay, please explain what U-hauling is.
I think it's amazing. Please explain.
So they say on the second date, when you're a woman dating another woman, it's basically a U-Haul date. So you rent the U-Haul and you move in.
Really?
Yeah, it's a second date. So we went way past that.
Way past the second date.
We're at half a year.
It kind of makes sense.
We got to 6 months, y'all.
I feel like not always. It's not always the woman driving in heterosexual, but let's just be honest. Biology, a lot of the times, the woman is trying to push things faster.
We're two
right?
women in our 30s who know what we want, who know that we want to be together, and why, what are we waiting for? So
I also think that there's, one beautiful thing that we realized this month is that nothing else needs to be expedited. We just enjoy it. So there's no idea of it's not like, okay, so then next week there's no time limit. No. So we've broken out of that mold and really just enjoying and learning more about each other.
Yeah. I think that when you put pressure on something that's in the future, it's hard, but just focusing on every milestone and really celebrating and enjoying it.
So did you move into someone's apartment, or did you guys get a new apartment together?
So I moved into her apartment.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, because when you were on the show last, you were getting a new condo, right?
Yeah.
Yep. I remember you giving us that update.
Yeah, so we have a small shoebox of love. With
a dog.
With a dog, so it's the three of us.
So much love. So much love in there.
And
so much love in that
Lisa?
shoebox.
For the most part.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to admit something to the Facebook Live folks, but I get shit done. And so I, was like, I'm going to just do everything by myself while she's out of town, and coincidentally moved in 2 weeks earlier than we discussed because my bed was disposed of, and she was like, so basically you've moved in early, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry.
I'm babe, you have nowhere to sleep. And
I was like, and she's like, it's what happens, but consult with me first. And I was like, fair.
I'm like, this is what happens when I go away for a work trip. The bay has moved in.
She wasn't gonna wait.
I also want to point out, at your party, you guys had matching Gay for Bay jackets.
Oh yeah, we thought about wearing them, and we're like, no.
Why not? Well, the matching cardigans are a nice touch.
These are actually not matching, but they're.
This is a short one. That's a long one.
We're we've just started adapting each other's personal style.
My God.
Not even by.
And
you should see us walk to work.
But you guys have moved in already. You're all settled in.
Yeah.
So any early on conflicts that you worked out, it always happens when couples move in.
Moving in with anyone.
Anyone.
I feel like.
Yeah. Anything you fought over where you're like, ooh, I didn't know she liked things that way?
Not necessarily, but I think that we've realized the importance of staying. We talked about early on that vulnerability and being really open with your partner is important. Sometimes it can be harder to maintain that as you progress through a relationship. Mm-hmm. So we've realized that is super important, to stay open, to stay engaged with each other. And when you start to kind of close off and isolate and that kind of thing, that's when assumptions happen.
Right. Yep.
And that's almost never good or true. So what we've realized in moments like that is that we just need to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that you guys are totally fine doing.
We're pretty good at communicating, I think, in real time, and we're both really open to just admitting where we might have gone a different way.
Yeah.
And going back to
we admit when we goof.
Yeah. We were just talking about this, that this is we actually had a really great episode with our season finale. It was called Marriage 101. It was the most popular course at Northwestern that this woman teaches.
Oh, we should listen to this.
Yeah, it was really good. Dr. Alexandra Solomon. She basically said every relationship's going to have some conflict. That's inevitable. And it's how you deal with it is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think also too recognizing that the way that we show up in love is really different. And so I think this idea of I can sometimes overdo it with acts of kindness and all these sorts of things because I enjoy just doing that, and that's how I live my life.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Margot does that as well, plus more, but I just think not holding any sort of okay, so you've done this, so I do this. There's no tit for tat.
Right.
If I'm advancing and if I'm giving, it's in advance of both of us, and if she's advancing and giving, it's in advance of both of us.
You're moving as a unit.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, case in point, it's I was really sick this past week and had today I had a huge presentation that went really well. So
yay!
But it was really stressful preparing for that and being sick and trying to care for my wellness and whatever. And I'm used to doing this. I was single for a long time, guys. Like I was used to, you know, doing this on my own, but to have a really supportive partner who was there and who was showing up 110%, I started to feel a little bit of guilt because I'm like, how am I showing up for her? Oh my God, you know, and it's just like...
And I was like, get back to bed. Lay down.
But to understand that sometimes, like, you know, we're building a life together, so it's like, you know, we carry each other through different times, and to give yourself a pass sometimes, I think that I'm used to just being like, I don't know, I'm super, as much as I like to think I'm like a type A cool Californian, like I'm really a rigid type A Bostonian at the heart of it, and it's really hard for me.
Don't worry, I feel I have the same identity crisis as you do.
It's really hard for me not to do the most, so even when I'm compromised. But yeah, we're learning. I mean, it's a balancing act. We're still only 6 months in, so yeah,
it's only been 6 months. It's like
learning.
Crazy.
It felt like forever.
Well, it's been 4 months longer than when we talked to you guys.
Yeah,
so
true.
It actually has been a decent amount of time.
Yeah. I feel like I've dated someone for like 6 months and didn't really even know their last name. And you guys have already U-hauled, so
Yeah.
that's how relationships go.
A+ Margot Elisa.
So what are some, I guess, like, we can give our viewers some takeaways on, I guess one is, how do you, after you, because, so this is my issue with moving in, is like, I feel like after you move in, you can become complacent, or you feel like this is the way things will be, so I don't need to try anymore. So what are some ways of, as new couples moving in together, what are some ways they can keep things fresh, keep things fun, but also move forward? Right.
Yeah, I have asked for a lot of tips and best practices. So I'll say we haven't necessarily been able to practice these yet. We're actually, it's great. Every time I come up with a process, or Margot does, we're like, let's test that and see if we want to do it in 2019.
Oh, okay.
So I think we're treating this Hawaii trip as that time to like really ideate and see. But
well, also, like, I don't think I've ever traveled as much as I have in December. So this month is like really, really like burning me out. Like, and the same for you. We're traveling like crazy. So carbon footprint is not looking good this month. But we're like, let's table like a lot of these like practicing things until 2019 because sometimes it's just too much.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I think, you know, the first is just making sure that we're not just assuming that we're always gonna, like, when we're home, it's not assuming that, okay, so like I'm free to bother you, etc. It's like we're like scheduling quality time. We're like really agreeing on what is quality time, how do we support each other in our alone time, when do you get the apartment to yourself for your friend, and when do I create that space? Because I think, you know, communication is really so important, but I see it as like, if you're kind of like this with each other, then what's the objectivity to understand what's actually going on? So I think having that perspective of like living your own life but also existing in a space with someone, I think it's being really thoughtful in that, as well as scheduling that daytime and that quality time, things like don't pick up the phone while that's happening. We have a few best practices I think that will help. Like, we've recognized this week, I think, quite a lot, that self-care is incredibly important.
We got mani-pedis.
Oh, God. So nice.
The last time we did that, it was in New York, and it's like, what have we been doing?
So important. And just really just remembering who we are and what makes us feel like ourselves and what makes us feel in our body and how we can support each other in that. I think another thing is just not making assumptions and you know, just sharing even the things that give us fear, because if we don't do that, then bad things happen.
Yeah. Well, I think that we're both like predisposed to like be afraid of hurting the other one. So like sometimes it's like, oh, sharing a fear is scary, but just gotta muscle through it and do it.
I think it's scary for everyone.
It's scary for everyone, for sure.
Yeah, but I think another thing that we've actually been really good at is starting the day out by just setting an intention, like for ourselves, like for our own day, and for each other. Kind of like as we walk down to work, it's like thinking about like, what do I want this day to be for me? What do I wish for you? And then really taking time to reflect on that day at the end of the day, because oftentimes we just get going through life and it starts moving so fast that it's like, what did I do yesterday?
Happens all the time.
But to stay like as present as we can and just to take each moment as a gift.
That's a good takeaway for people that are single, living together.
I mean,
like, whatever your status is, that's probably something that you can bring that to your life.
I feel like for a lot of couples moving in together, that first hurdle is always, how do we communicate with each other when we get home from work. Because you know how some people need to just be alone when they come home and decompress. And some people just want to be like, this is what happened to me at work. So for a couple to agree on how to handle that is really important. And
I used to drive my old roommate crazy with that. We weren't even in a relationship. I feel like that's like just living like with someone, whoever that may be.
Yeah, I drive my dog crazy all the time. Like, shut up, mommy.
One thing that like some friends of mine that have like lived together and are married they do like regular date nights still, which I think is really great. Because I think like one of the things that like you can get really complacent is you're like, oh, I see you all the time. We're like sitting and watching TV together, but that's not really like quality time. Right. So it's nice when you can like still break that out.
That's true. I think designating an area in your apartment as couples time is important. Like physically just say, this part of the couch, when we sit here, this is like designated couples time. When we're sitting here, no phones, no talking to anybody else, it's just us connecting. That's physically having that and visually seeing it is important too. I love giving advice to people who are in this situation because it's so much easier, like from a third party. Like, girls, just do this. Like, in practice,
it's trial and error though, and every couple's different. So it's like you can only give so much advice, right?
I also think that like the more that you're not taking care of yourself, and I think like there's so much of like we're like, oh, I wish you would compliment me more, but it's like also understanding that that's like it's like we're showing up as the best version of ourselves, and what do you need to make you feel good?
Right.
And how can you reflect
that starts with us. I think that there's like a difference between like a relationship that's like that, where it's just like, oh, I need somebody else to complete me, and we're like melded in the same person in this like mushy mess, and this, which is like we're two strong individuals who are deciding to be together. And I think that it can be hard, like when you just like wanna just smash together to keep yourself sacred, and to really be like, hey, like, shit, I've been doing all this amazing work on myself. Let's not lose this momentum. And like, if I keep myself sacred and whole, I can be a much better partner for her, and vice versa. And I think that but it's hard. Like we live in a city that demands a lot of action. We have jobs that demand a lot of action. We are really higher energy women, so. It's a lot, but it's just a matter of finding balance.
That's a really good point, though, is like, I think like, I mean, I'm not going to speak for all therapists because I'm not a licensed therapist, but I would go on a limb to say that they would say like the end goal is not necessarily a relationship. It's to be like comfortable and happy with yourself. Yeah. So to your point of like, just because we're in a relationship doesn't mean that we should stop doing all the work that you both have been doing for like years, right?
It's nobody's job to make you happy. That starts with yourself, and to put that kind of pressure on another person is not okay.
And when you are in a relationship like that, it usually goes south fast because there's many reasons, because you can't do that.
It's conditional.
I think also talking about therapy, my therapist, I was struggling a lot when I was single, and she goes, a lot of the things that you want to learn is only taught in relationship. And so I think it's like recognizing that every week I learn something about relationship. I learned something about Margot and myself.
Oh my God.
And
that's so interesting.
It's Earth School. Like it literally is. It's like, it's just
like, what's an example, if you don't mind us asking?
Just like, what's interesting is like, while she's been sick, I've had a little bit of anxiety around, I'm early to moving in. My poor girlfriend is sick. I'm taking care of her. And I've been using these walking the dog to just really reflect on the story that I'm telling myself about, okay, like, I'm feeling anxious about this. And I'm like, what is the story I'm telling myself? And the story I'm telling myself is that, oh my God, like, I'm going to ruin this in some way. Okay, how can I change that story? And I realized, like, communicate with her and be like, how am I doing? Yep. And her to communicate, how is she doing? And so I think, like, to remember that. And the other thing I learned this week is just to, like, little things will be the demise. Like the more that you let those little things get to you. So remembering why you're with your person. And I didn't tell you this, but I wrote it out just to remember. And so
all the little things that I do that annoy you?
No, all the things
Today, Margot triggered me by putting the forks
bigger picture
in
what
the
makes
sink.
You happy.
What?
Number 185. Triggered again.
I honestly, you focus on the values and what that person does for you, and the best advice I've ever given is, or like the best, really like the view for I think our relationship is we all think that we want someone that fits our mold, but the person that breaks the barriers of our mold and helps us think differently is the person that we should be with.
You guys definitely need to check out that last episode. Yeah. That's like basically what she's saying. Like the whole thing is like around
and
like
this is like
how
a Harvard course or something.
Northwestern,
not Harvard. Close, but anyways, it's like this whole thing is like what is the person doing something to you, or is it the way you're interpreting it?
Right, it's all a story.
Yeah,
and understanding.
Brene Brown talks about this too. Yeah, Brene has a really great. I've been loving Oprah's, what is it?
Super Soul Sunday.
Super Soul Sunday.
Have you heard of this?
No.
Oh my goodness. It's basically...
Knowledge is dropped.
It's a podcast.
So tell them about
Oprah's
Super Soul Sunday.
Yeah, so it's Oprah's podcast where she just, talks to these incredible people like Brene Brown and
Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
I mean, anything Oprah.
I'm crying already.
Yeah. About basically of like their best practices for life. So it's basically like life school.
Yeah.
Some of the most amazing thought leaders, Marianne Williamson. I mean, like amazing people. And there's like hundreds of episodes because she's been doing this for years.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we've been kind of like binging on a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
We need to catch up.
Guess
what I know I'm doing Sunday.
So my girl Brene Brown, talks about, she has, a number of really amazing books about like, establishing boundaries and different things, but also like, I think her latest one was about what is the story, like when an interaction happens, what's the story that you tell yourself? And then how do you get yourself to buy into that story, even if you may not have all the information or it may not be true. So that's, I thought that one was really great.
Definitely need to check that out. I think there was something that I don't remember who said this to me. It's probably someone that we had on our podcast or somewhere, but it's like relationships bring up, like when you're actually in a relationship, it usually brings up your own personal shit, like more
way
than
more
ever. So it's like, I agree with you in the fact of like when you're single or like you're just talking about relationships abstractly, it's easier said, and sometimes you don't grasp everything until when you're actually in it and you're like, oh my god, why am I thinking the way I'm thinking? And then you have to like step back and be like, this has nothing to do with this person, and it's all about the way I'm processing.
Yeah. And let me not make them pay for somebody else's mistakes. Yeah.
Right. I know.
Something that's hard to do, but
that baggage, it comes out.
It just comes out. Jonathan said, the founder of Reflect, when we did the therapy episode, he said if you have parents or you went to high school, you probably have
issues.
So basically just bring it back there, right?
So we're talking more like high level advice and tips, but what about like day-to-day survival needs? Like who's cooking, right? How are you guys feeding each other?
We are so equal. It is really unreal how that works. I think we're always trying to delight each other.
Yeah, and I think that there are certain things that each of us like love cooking. We're always trying to kind of what she said.
There's a lot of equanimity in the relationship. I think that's incredibly important, and I think I feel like, I was telling her today, I was like, please do not feel guilty that you were sick, because I will be sick and you will do the same thing. I think this has been the only time that you felt like, okay, I'm not like doing enough, because you literally need to just take care of yourself. Yeah. So there's really, I don't see anyone dominantly doing anything.
What about cleaning?
I am a little bit of a clean freak.
She's way better about it. I really don't like cleaning, I have to say. Yeah, and I'm the one who comes with the dog, so...
But you're good about, like, she's really good about just, like, putting the tissue back on the thing and, like, running the dishwasher. Okay. Yeah. So I feel like you're actually very
I'm good at certain things.
There's also people you can hire, too.
True.
Fair, I know, yeah. We have a dog who would probably attack those people, so it's a little bit more complicated. But he's got his own little sassy attitude, so... But yeah, I mean, I think that we're when it comes to all the things, we're very equal.
And this upcoming trip to Hawaii, who planned it?
I'm a control freak, so I like to plan it. So I plan pretty much everything.
I'm happy to relinquish control.
But I know that if I was to be like, babe, I like need you to find this thing, she would. And there's been instances in the past, like we just went to Toronto and she was like, this is the Airbnb we're staying at, and I was like, I see you. Like,
and it was shit. It was so so bad.
It wasn't, no.
You're like, never again.
Bad. We slept just fine. It was great. But I just love that.
No,
just,
there was
like,
a family living above us. It was,
I think that's a good point, though, is because sometimes you think equal, like, oh, you both have to divide everything down the middle. And the reality is some people just might like things or be better at things.
Well, look at the strength finder. It's like understanding who's stronger in certain ways and not forcing yourself to do things that you just don't want to do, you know?
Right.
It's like,
it's true.
You negotiate that in a relationship.
Or people show up in different ways.
And then are you guys budgeting? Have you set out like a monthly budget for
We've talked about it. We've talked about budgeting. We try to be good. But yeah, 2019 goals.
I also think we individually manage our own finances, which I'm
we don't like merge money and stuff like that. And until this month, we've been living separately, so we haven't crossed that bridge yet.
That's true, because some couples too will just do shared expenses, you know, and then everything else.
Yeah,
everyone's different.
I'm always curious to see how couples do it. Everybody's so different.
We definitely, it's like, you bought the Starbucks this day, I bought the Starbucks that.
Yeah.
Okay, like sometimes she'll just send me money for gas and I didn't realize we were very equal with that. So.
Yeah.
I really think every couple's different the way they handle it. And there's really not a right or wrong.
Especially when it comes to expenses like apartment, bills, dog, car. Like, we try to be equal in those things because, you know, we equally get enjoyment out of all of those things. So.
Yeah.
What about social activities for the week? Who's planning those or seeking those out?
It depends. I think that my job probably depends. Like, I do business development, so I probably have more work events that like demand my time outside of things. But you know, we both have really active friend groups. I think we try to do things with our friends together and separately.
Yeah,
that's helpful.
And we try to really like. We have a practice that on Sunday we'll sit down and we'll look at the week and we'll say, okay, like these are the days that we're gonna just have a night at home. Here's when I'm gonna go out with my friends. Here's when you're gonna go out with your friends. Here's when I have these work events or whatever. And we try to map it out on Sundays as practice That's
good.
I like that because then you kind of know where you stand all week too. You're like, oh, they're out on Tuesday. Okay.
Yeah.
I love
There's no assumption there.
We do have a shared calendar, and I've told you this before. I love when I see that she's like planned a night out without telling me with a friend. Like, I love it because it tells me like that this person feels
usually like 3 weeks
independent and comfortable and just is getting. There's no needing to run it by me. I mean, if something conflicts, she'll try to make it work, but generally, like, we're very giving of, like, being like, have fun.
If there's something that conflicts, odds are it's already in the calendar, so.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's important, because that's, like, when resentment builds, when people aren't, right?
Yeah.
So,
No.
Share your calendars, folks.
Share your calendars. Well, you guys seem just perfect, so what's wrong?
Yue's like, I'm going to get to the bottom of this.
What is something you're still working on right now?
There is no such thing as perfect. I just think that we are invested in learning and trying and being open and having feedback, and we definitely run into some like really silly little tidbit things. I would say that tiffs last very, very very shortly.
Because we're curious about them. We're like, wait, what just happened there? Like, let's talk about it in real time.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes it'll be like, well, you said this and this, and then we sort of end with like, I think we both added to that experience.
Oh, that's good.
Wow.
And like, how do you feel? Okay, I'm feeling better. And sometimes I'm like, I'm not feeling that great.
Well, that's exactly what the professor said too, of like, you can actually come together much stronger from conflict if you actually take the time to understand why you're having the conflict, not just, you did this.
No, neither of us like to point fingers or sit there and like bad feelings. We just like to deal with it and be adults and move on to the next fun thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Conflict is something that I think a lot of people are scared of.
Yeah.
And I think that if you understand whether you're operating in fear or like you said, like past trauma, etc. I think we're far more attuned as we're going through this process around like what's actually speaking. Like who's that voice, right? Is it my mom speaking? Is it me speaking, you know, in fear? Or like, did I not eat well? And there's been times where like, we're just gonna go to sleep. And we're just, we're going to chat about this, or like we actually had a drink, so we're not going to talk about this now. Yeah. And I think that always helps. But I think just being able to like quickly metabolize things, it's not perfection, but at least it makes you feel as though you have the muscles to handle whatever comes your way.
I think next season too, I'd like to go a little deeper on like some of like people like that are because I think we talk a lot about like meeting and like getting to that relationship.
Yeah.
And this is when like the movie credits end too, is like what happens after. And I think like we've definitely had episodes that have touched on it, but I think there's a lot more we can do. So That's interesting to people. Let
us know. You guys definitely want to know. I'm also just like, women are just more evolved. I mean, just way more evolved.
I'm not gonna lie, we are.
I can't remember the last time I met her.
Sorry, guys. No. It's not true. Not all guys.
Not all guys, but it's like, I can see why this works. Because you guys are in the same mindset.
Yeah.
It's that mindset of like, I have self-awareness, but I am also aware that there's another person involved in this, and how can we work together? I think like it's I had a conversation with my friend yesterday, and he said, my current girlfriend, she's very self-aware, and she's like, she knows who she is, but she's not aware that I'm in this too. So they're not seeing eye to eye. Not so much like she's not thinking about it. It's just that she's still like, she's still expanding her scope, and he's nowhere to be seen yet.
Right.
So it's like part of why relationships are complicated is that not only do you have to meet someone in the same stage in life, but also same mindset. Like, you've gone through similar...
Or be willing to work,
but
right?
You can't
like,
project manage somebody. It's not like you can say, like, oh, I'm going to, like, handle all the things and not, like, let them in to be themselves. You know, I think that there's a degree of just vulnerability involved and, like, allowing somebody into your life. And there's, like, you know, it takes a lot of strength to let somebody do that. So,
Yeah. Well, on that note.
Inspiring as always. Thank you guys again.
Thank you.
Well, congrats on moving in together.
Thank you.
Very exciting. We'll do another check-in in 2 or 3 months and see how you guys are feeling. But also just give everybody kind of your journey and advice. Like, every couple's different, but I always like to hear how other couples handle conflict and living together in the everyday nitty-gritty. So
we're brand new in this, so definitely check in a couple months.
I will say we're both very much bathed in like therapy in a good way and coaching. Like, my coaching program has been tremendous, and I actually am offering complimentary sessions to anybody that wants to try it out.
We'll put you on our website.
And they want to go in terms of dating from surviving to thriving, and it's just been so transformative in my life. So, like, since I've seen you, I've become a coach. I've gotten tremendous amounts of coaching.
Tell us more about so if someone were to come to you for like the session, what can they expect? How long is it?
Yeah, so it would be a 60-minute session. And so what I would do is just, explain a little bit. There might be some understanding of how do you delineate therapy from coaching? What can I offer you? What are you looking for? We'd then have something of like a mock session for 10 to 15 minutes. And then we'd talk a little bit about how that feels and whether we decide to move forward.
Oh my God, I'm
doing
this.
We'll definitely put you on the website. And then if there's anyone that's listening that can tag themselves in comments or say,
Well, tell us, how can they reach you?
Yep, so you can reach me at elisa-ramos.com.
Okay, we'll put that in the bio section or section. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And give Dateable a credit if you reach out to Elisa, okay?
I will definitely let you know as a referral.
Hello.
This is your holiday gift, right?
Paying it forward.
You need to do therapy, coaching, and Dateable.
We
trifecta.
It's super
we got you covered. We got you covered, and we own a U-Haul business. Like, let's just get it done. All right. Okay, we're gonna wrap this up because we have a catch-up session with another guest soon. So
So also, if you guys haven't tuned in, we had the first catch-up session that went up today. This is audio podcast. This is our only video catch-up.
Yeah.
And then we have another session next week on Christmas. Is Christmas on the 20th?
Christmas is Monday, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, right after Christmas.
I don't know. We're going to be on a beach. I don't care.
Yeah,
basically our usual schedule. You can find us.
Next Wednesday, it's our last catch-up session. It's our last episode of the year.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a good one.
And you can also catch up if you haven't, because sometimes over the holidays, while it's fun, there's also a lot of downtime with family.
Totally.
So if you want to take a little break, put your headphones in, we got you.
Yeah, if that aunt is bothering you at dinner, just
put it
on your headphones.
Maybe not at the table.
Well, I want to thank Margot and Lisa for coming and sharing with us your journey, your story. It's been an incredible few months. Just
really
seeing
has.
where it started and where it is now, and you're just an inspiration for everyone to just like rethink how they want to be in a relationship. I think we always think about like, I want to feel this way in a relationship, but then how do you want your partner to feel? You know?
I have a question for you though, because I listened to an episode after ours that I think was talking about unicorns or something like that. And you said something about your own like transformation or your own like. What were you saying? Like, are you trying to date differently now?
I was trying so hard on Tinder, trying to get like with a couple.
Oh my God, you were.
And no couple swiped on me. I was so mad. I was like so disappointed. No couple. And my coworker. They knew
you were monogamous at the core.
I don't know, but my coworker felt so bad for me. He said, if you can't find anyone by the end of the year, my wife and I will take you in.
Oh my gosh. Well, what about a
Lucky
couple?
him.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't think they were actually
like
serious.
I guess
Because they moved to Modesto, so that just shows
They're like, we're leaving.
Don't
start
start a
behind
relationship
us.
with somebody in Modesto.
But it did help me think about, like, I'm going through my own journey of, is a traditional relationship what I'm looking for? Am I open to being in an open relationship, or dating with the man funnel situation, or like exploring other ways of dating? And I've so boring, but I've come full circle, and I realize that a traditional relationship is still what I'm looking for. So I guess it's good to go through that and process.
Sometimes it turns out what you originally thought might be it, but at least you were open to exploring.
I'm pretty basic.
But way to be brave.
Right?
Way to be brave. Try something else.
I tried.
And you learned something new about yourself.
I did, yes. I learned that I take rejection from couples not too well.
Double rejection.
Double rejection. But I will, maybe in 2019, I'll try something else. There's always different configurations.
Okay, you're just basic. Just vanilla.
I'm just vanilla.
Nothing wrong with vanilla.
Basic chick. All right, we're going to let you guys go to your holiday parties, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you, we'll talk to you next week on our show. If you have any suggestions or any past guests that you're so curious about, let us know. We're totally down reaching out to them and, catching up with them.
Or any topics. I've had a few people reach out with some topics that they're interested in, so feel free to email us, hello@dateablepodcast anytime, or hit us up on social. Yeah. But, other topics that we just aren't thinking about, please let us know so we can go there.
Yeah, we're totally down, and we want to learn more about you guys. If you see us out and about, just come and say hi, and we'll make sure to get a selfie next time.
I know,
because we forgot to do that with Laura. Yeah, we'll do that next time. But it was awesome hanging out with all of you guys today, and all of you guys, thanks for tuning in. Such an incredible year, and I just can't say any more awesome things about Dateable, because I've just learned so much, and I'm grateful for the people that the show has been able to connect us with, and the communities that we've been connected with. So it's been incredible, to say the least.
Okay.
All right. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy holidays.
Stay dateable.
Stay dateable. Yeah.